This is the Horse Radio Network. This is episode 241 of Horse Tip Daily, a different horse tip, a different equine topic, a different equestrian expert every day. Horse Tip Daily brings the world of equine knowledge to you one day at a time. This tip is sponsored by Equestrian Collections. You can visit them at equestriancollections.com. Enjoy today's tip. Hi, everybody. Glenn the Geek back with you from Lexington, Kentucky, and you're listening to Horse Tip Daily. Well, today we have a fun new expert on the show with us. She is one of my favorite people to chat with on the phone. She has a great accent, and you'll see why in a minute. She's a multiple world champion, and when I say multiple, I mean she has won more titles than almost anyone I know. She is also affectionately known here at the Horse Radio Network as one of the most dangerous women in the world. Her name is Tammy Sronce, and she is a champion mounted shooter. She'll be helping us teach our horses and giving us tips on how to teach our horses to put up with sounds and things like that. She's a mounted shooter. They're shooting guns on top of the horses, doing patterns and laps and things. So she's going to help us with some of the training tips that she uses to train shooting horses for many, many people. She's one of the top shooting trainers in the world as well. We'll learn more about her as I get to talking to her here shortly. I'm just so happy that she's on the show with us. She was also on an episode of Stable Scoop with us. You can go to stablescoop.com and look up Tammy, and you'll see that she did one of our past episodes where we got to spend a lot of time with her. And she'll be on doing regular tips with us, regular training tips, and we're just so happy to have her as part of Horse Tip Daily. Thank you, Tammy, and we'll be on with her in just a minute, right after these words about Equestrian Collections and their social networking. For over a year now, we've been telling you about all the cool things happening at Equestrian Collections and the variety and selection of products they have at fantastic prices. But today, we want to talk to you a little bit about their social networking and what a community they have built on Facebook. If you go to Facebook and search for Equestrian Collections, you're going to find that over 20,000 fans are now following Equestrian Collections on Facebook. And the reason is they have a dynamic community built over there. On most store sites, most company sites on Facebook will just promote product and things like that. That's not what happens on Equestrian Collections. Yeah, there's a little bit of that, but mostly it's the community sharing pictures, talking about stories, asking questions of each other. It's an active, vibrant community, like a little forum right there on Facebook. Search for Equestrian Collections on Facebook or stop over to equestriancollections.com for all of your horse and rider needs. Well, hi, Tammy, and welcome to your first episode of Horse Tip Daily.
Hey, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. Tammy is a friend of the Horse Radio Network, and I feel like we've become friends since you started. You've been on so much.
I have.
I love having you on. You're one of my favorites. Now, everybody, I have to say that because she's like dangerous, too. She's like one of the most dangerous women in the world. So I have to say that to keep myself from getting shot. I don't know. It definitely has to be a hindrance for anybody that's looking at dating you.
Yeah, Google is not good for me, that's for sure. They kind of work out who I am pretty quick.
So tell me a little bit about, let everybody know a little bit about how, your history and how you came to be a world champion shooter.
I am. I started my mounted shooting in 2002, and I've been on the road pretty much since then. And I've been very fortunate to have a lot of success with my horse. He has won 4 national championships and 2 world championships in mounted shooting. He was the first horse to reach the highest level of mounted shooting, which is a level 6. They go from 1 to 6s. 1's the beginners, and he was the very first, horse to carry me to the level 6. So that's pretty important. He's been a phenomenal horse and just really done a lot of great things for me. So he's a pretty big asset for me.
Well, that's great. Now, how long have you been riding?
I've been riding a long time. I am 33 years old, so I've been riding pretty much since I was little. My father had horses, and I grew up around those horses. And in Australia, obviously I'm from Australia, but I
couldn't tell at all with that Australian southern that Australian southern Texas accent you've got.
Exactly. We have Pony Club, which is pretty similar to y'all's 4-H over here.
Uh-huh.
So I grew up doing a lot of that, a lot of dressage and a lot of jumping. And so I done a lot of that in Australia, and I thought, you know what, how great would it be to come over to Texas and ride, everyone's horses over here, because they're just such a wonderful quality. So there I was, 20 years old, on an airplane with a suitcase of clothes and my boots, and over it came.
That's a guts.
Sometimes, I look back and I thought, how did you do that? But I guess everyone's a little stronger than they think sometimes.
Yeah, and it's funny what we do when we have to do.
Mm-hmm.
When you have to do something, when you have to survive, you find a way. It's amazing.
We do. I was reading a horse magazine in the break room of my work, and I saw that ad. It said, Texas Cutting Horse Ranch requires help. And I thought, okay, I can, that would be fun. And then I went back to work, and the next month I saw it again, and I thought, there is no reason why I can't do that.
and it's funny because you must have been the best-looking ranch hand that ranch ever had.
You know what? I was very unhappy at the first ranch I went to. I really, I was homesick, and I didn't know how to drive on the wrong side of the road, and I have learned that now. So I was so scared. I thought, I am not getting off the ranch because I don't, I actually, my dash of my truck was so dusty, and I had keep right written in the dust.
You know what's hardest too? We're totally off topic here, but what the heck? You know what's hardest is when you're making turns. Is what I noticed when you're over in England or someplace. It's easy when you're driving down the road. You can remember which side to go on when you're driving. It's when you stop and have to make a turn at a 4-way intersection. It's like, oh my God, where do I go?
or a traffic light.
Yes.
No, and it's hilarious. Like from the ranch to the grocery store, there was one 4-way stop sign. And I didn't know how it works. I mean, y'all just assume here, whoever gets there first goes. Well, no one told me that. So I would drive up to the 4-way stop sign, and if anyone at all was around, I would pull over and I would wait until everyone was gone because I had no idea who went first. So I'd like to think that I've learned a lot over here.
Well, as many places as you go now, I would assume you have. You're flying all over the place. Well, yeah, and you also are the PR director for an organization.
I am the spokesperson for American Competitive Trail Horse Association,
which is really cool.
I'm very involved.
We've done a couple shows with Tammy over on the Stable Scoop radio show. Stop over to stablescoop.com and you'll see. You'll hear a lot more about that organization, and that's a lot of fun, too. But today, you're here to do tips because not only do you have to learn to shoot real well, she's a competition shooter, has won about 85 titles, according to your website here. You have to be one of the most titled people in shooting. You have to train the horses to be good around noise and around crowds, and you guys run through a course pretty much. It's almost like doing barrels with a gun.
That's exactly what it is. And everyone thinks it's all, pretty easy, and they'll jump on their horse, and they'll either be faced with two answers. Yes, he does shoot, or no, he doesn't shoot. But let me tell you, in the 7 years I've had horses in the ranch that I've trained for other people, I've only ever sent 2 horses home that I did not finish training. So all of them are trainable. It's just a matter of how much patience and the method you use.
How much? What type of horses are best? I mean, what breed?
Well, obviously, a quarter horse gelding over the age of 8 is my first preference.
There you go.
and that's that's what I look for.
Were you that way with? Were you that way with guys too, Tammy? You were that specific. I need one over 30, dark hair, cowboy boots, and a belt buckle.
That's another show, and yes, I am.
That's funny.
I am. So that's funny. No, but some of the other breeds are too hot, like an Arab or a gaited horse or any kind of those. They really give a novice rider a little bit of the trouble out there. So it is important that personality is number one. So that's probably the most important thing.
All right. So what we're going to do over a period of time here, Tammy's going to join us on a regular basis, giving us tips on really how to train your horse. Now, we realize that a lot of you aren't going to be shooting guns off your horse. That's kind of a specialty that not many people get to do at one point or another, and in most places would be highly illegal. So in Texas, it's just a normal thing. But, any place out, you try and do that in New England, you're going to get arrested. So we realize that. But every horse should be a little bit bomb-proof, or this place gun-proof or crowd-proof. And you're going to be really doing tips on how best to accomplish that goal, right?
It is. And a lot of the foundation you put on a mounted shooting horse is really just really wonderful basic horsemanship. We need the same respect. We need the same manners. We need the same handle on that horse for anything, really. So it's all very relevant to whatever you want to do with your horse.
Now, let me ask you, just as a basis, when you were growing up and starting into horses, was there a natural horseman or somebody that you really looked up to, the Monty Roberts or, anybody else?
In Australia, I have to say there wasn't. When I came over to Texas, I did work for many years for Lindy Birch, who is a Hall of Fame cutting horse trainer. She was the president of NCHA. She has probably been my number one influence in my horse life and my mentor, and she is a phenomenal horse person. So I would have to say, whatever I've been able to accomplish was due to her, and she is just someone to watch. And the thing that I've liked about her much is she really cares for these horses, and she goes out of her way to make sure everything's done properly and everything's done to the best of anyone's standards. And I took a little bit of that when I left that ranch.
Well, good.
I can be a little particular.
So, all right. So how are we going to help people today?
Okay. The number one thing when you want to do something with your horse, regardless of what it is, mounted shooting, polo, trail riding, is to have ample control of your horse. That is really important, because if you're trying something new with your horse and something goes wrong, which, horses generally do.
Yes, if something will go wrong, it will go wrong.
It will.
Yep.
You need the handle and the control of that horse to slow his feet down and put his feet where you need to be. And that's just a real safety thing with no matter what you're doing. If that horse goes sideways when you fire that gun, or if you're, working with some products to desensitize your horse and something goes wrong, whether it's on the ground or in the saddle, you need control of that horse to be able to shut him down and keep him and yourself safe. So that's really my number one. I will not start a horse that comes into my barn if I feel it's lacking any handle. I'm more than happy to call the owners up and say, listen, give me a month, give me whatever I need to get control of this horse. And then I'll go shoot off it. Otherwise, you can just go shoot off it.
Right. So what do you do? And to accomplish that goal, I realize that's a long show. But is there certain techniques or training techniques or things you do?
There is. I always start my shooting horses, in the round pen. I will not take them to the arena. I won't start them out in the field. And that goes back to safety too. So really, pick a great place to start, and then start simple and work your way up. If your finished goal is to shoot a 45 caliber pistol off that horse, you will not start with a 45. It's too scary. You need to start with something soft and quieter, and then work your way up and have a gradual progression of those sounds. And that works with anything,
Right.
So the biggest mistakes I find people make with mounted shooting or any desensitizing, they look at that and they jump in and they don't take their time. Training a horse is a matter of going out there every day and doing the same thing and getting a little bit done every day, not just getting out there once every 2 weeks and spending 4 hours.
Right.
So that's having patience and having, the perseverance to go out there and put that work in on that horse every day, and that will get anything achieved.
So, Tammy, in future episodes, what we're going to talk about is that progression of sounds and the what not to do's and the what to do's, because one of the things that happens in competitive shooting is that you're also riding a pattern and you're going for speed.
Right.
So, there's teaching the horses to do that successfully as well, which is similar in nature to the barrel racers again. But
Exactly.
it's a little bit different too. So you've got one hand obviously on the gun and one hand on the wheel. You know, so you have to, there's certain training there involved as well. So we'll get to that in future episodes here. Where can people find out more about the most dangerous woman in the world?
My website, which is texasshootinghorses.com. My email account's on there. People can send in questions or anything they want to know, or if there's something we didn't cover, they can catch me on texasshootinghorses.com.
texasshootinghorses.com. And are you still taking new clients and customers?
I am. I have cut back a little bit with all my work that I'm doing with the Trail Horse Association. I only take, a small handful of horses and riders each week because I just my time's got pretty short. So, but I am still training. Yep, in Weatherford, Texas.
All right. So, but if I come down there, you're going to put my lazy butt on a nice, quiet horse, and I can go out and shoot away.
Exactly. I have a nice, quiet horse, and all my students don't start on the horse. I make every single one of them start on the ground first. So you'll have a ground shooting lesson first.
I would just be as happy shooting on the ground, to be honest with you. I just like shooting, so that'll be great. Well, thank you, Tammy, and we'll have her back soon.
Oh, that sounds great.
Well, there's Tammy. What a trip she is. We do enjoy having her on the show. We're going to enjoy having her back here to give you regular tips on training for those extreme sports and what you have to do to train to get horses used to all kinds of things. So we appreciate Tammy. She's certainly qualified in that area. And don't forget to check out all the other great shows on the network at horseradionetwork.com. I'll be back again tomorrow with another new expert and a different horse tip. Until then, stay safe, everyone.